Every day you wake up with two choices: to rise above the noise of the world or to be consumed by it. The direction your life takes depends not on the circumstances around you, but on the condition of the mind within you. Your mind is the most powerful tool you will ever own, yet most people leave it untrained, undisciplined, and distracted. To rise, you must first take control of this magnificent instrument and train it to think, to focus, and to believe. You see, the human mind is like a fertile field. Whatever seeds you plant within it, thoughts of confidence or thoughts of doubt, visions of greatness or fears of failure, that is exactly what will grow. Nature doesn't care what you plant, it will return whatever you cultivate. So, if you desire a harvest of success, peace, and fulfillment, then you must sow the seeds of purpose, persistence, and positivity every single day. Training your mind to rise begins with awareness. Become aware of your thoughts, because your thoughts are the architects of your destiny. The world you experience on the outside is built first on the blueprint of your inner world. If you wish to change your life, begin by changing what you dwell upon, what you believe in, and what you allow to take root in your consciousness. Every great achievement begins as a single thought, a spark of belief that refused to die. But belief alone is not enough. It must be supported by discipline. Train your mind to stay focused when distractions call your name. Train it to keep faith when results are slow. Train it to look up when the world seems to push you down. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you wish to be. And that bridge is built with daily effort and consistent practice. You will notice something remarkable. As your mind grows stronger, your outer world will begin to shift. Challenges that once defeated you will now develop you. Setbacks that once discouraged you will now teach you. The same circumstances, the same people, the same world, but a new perspective, a higher frequency, a stronger inner self. You won't merely survive life, you'll rise above it. To train your mind to rise, you must guard it from negativity the way a soldier guards a fortress. Protect it from fear, gossip, and self-doubt. Surround it with knowledge, inspiration, and truth. Feed it with books, ideas, and affirmations that lift you higher. What you allow in will shape what comes out. So choose carefully. Remember, you were not created to live in mediocrity. You were born to rise, to grow, to become all that you are capable of becoming. The mind is your greatest ally if you command it. It can be your greatest enemy if you neglect it. The difference lies in training. Rise above old patterns of fear and limitation. Rise above the noise of doubt and distraction. Train your mind daily, and soon the world will rise with you. Every great transformation begins within the quiet chambers of the mind, long before the world ever takes notice. To train your mind to rise means to recognize that everything you desire to become, every goal you wish to achieve, and every mountain you hope to climb first begins with a single disciplined thought. The mind is both a servant and a master. It will either work for you or against you, depending on how you train it. Most people go through life reacting to circumstances instead of shaping them. They let moods, fears, and doubts dictate their actions. But those who learn to train their minds rise above external conditions. They become creators instead of reactors, builders instead of wanderers. It begins by understanding that thoughts are not random, they are commands. Each thought you allow to linger in your mind sends a signal to your subconscious, programming it to act accordingly. If your thoughts are filled with fear, your actions will shrink in proportion. If they are filled with confidence, your steps will be bold and sure. This is not imagination, it is law. The mind cannot hold both faith and doubt in equal measure. One will always overpower the other. So the first step to training your mind is choosing which force you will strengthen. To rise, you must begin your day with purpose. Before the world awakens, before noise fills the air, take a few moments to direct your thoughts. Picture the person you wish to be and hold that image firmly in your mind. Speak words that align with that vision. The more often you do this, the more your subconscious accepts it as truth. Over time, your habits, actions, and even your circumstances will begin to reflect that inner image. This is the hidden mechanism behind all lasting success. It is not luck, but mental conditioning. The world will constantly try to pull your attention outward to make you believe that your happiness and success depend on other people, situations, or timing. But the trained mind knows better. It knows that true power lies inward. When you learn to control your thoughts, you control your emotions. And when you control your emotions, you control your actions. The person who has mastered his mind cannot be defeated by circumstance because his strength comes from within. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity, every challenge a lesson, every setback a step toward mastery. Training your mind requires patience and repetition. You cannot plant a seed today and expect a tree tomorrow. The same rule applies to the mind each day. You must feed it with positive input, books, affirmations, goals, and gratitude. You must be vigilant about what you allow in. The mind is constantly being shaped by what it consumes. So if you fill it with noise, negativity, and doubt, it will produce confusion and fear. But if you nourish it with clarity, vision, and purpose, it will produce courage and success. It is important to remember that the mind is always listening, even when you are not consciously thinking. The thoughts you repeat most often become your beliefs, and your beliefs shape your behavior. If you continually tell yourself you cannot do something, your subconscious will make sure you never do. But if you affirm your ability, visualize your success, and act with conviction, your mind will align everything around you to make it real. What you think about consistently, you move toward unconsciously. This is the law of mental focus. You rise not by fighting the old, but by creating the new. Instead of battling negative thoughts, replace them with stronger, more empowering ones. Instead of allowing fear to rule your decisions, train your mind to seek solutions. Each time you choose growth over fear, strength over doubt, discipline over distraction, your mental muscles grow stronger. Eventually, your mind will rise automatically, seeking higher ground no matter what storms surround it. The greatest victory you can ever achieve is mastery over your own thinking, for once you win there, everything else follows. The mind is a field of endless potential, and every thought you plant within it begins to take form whether you realize it or not. The moment you understand that your thoughts are seeds, you begin to see life differently. You no longer blame the soil, the weather, or the seasons. You begin to take responsibility for what you've planted. Many people walk through life wondering why they reap unhappiness, frustration, or failure, never realizing that they themselves have been sowing the very seeds that produced it. The mind is neutral. It will grow whatever you feed it. If you plant weeds of worry and fear, they will choke out every possibility of growth. But if you plant thoughts of courage, gratitude, and purpose, they will flourish into confidence and success. Training your mind to rise means becoming a deliberate sower of thoughts. It means refusing to let random negativity take root. Every day, thousands of thoughts pass through your consciousness, but only a few of them are chosen, watered, and nurtured. Those are the ones that become your beliefs. Those beliefs become your identity, and your identity determines your results. That is why the wise person guards their mind like a garden, removing what does not belong and tending daily to what must grow. You cannot afford to let your mental garden grow wild. If you wish to rise, you must cultivate it with intention. Each morning when you wake, you begin a new planting season. You decide what kind of seeds to sow by the words you speak and the thoughts you dwell upon. If you start your day thinking of limitations, you have already set the tone for defeat. But if you begin with thoughts of power, possibility, and determination, you create an entirely different reality. Your outer world is simply a reflection of your inner field. The more attention you give to what you want, the more it grows. The more energy you waste on what you fear, the more that fear takes root. This is not philosophy. It is cause and effect in motion. The greatest challenge most people face is not external opposition, but internal disorder. They try to rise with an untrained mind that contradicts their goals. They say they want success, but they dwell on failure. They desire peace, but they constantly entertain worry. The subconscious mind cannot distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. It accepts whatever you feed it as truth. That is why mental training is not optional. It is essential. You must discipline yourself to think in alignment with your purpose. Every time you catch yourself thinking small, correct it immediately. Replace doubt with affirmation, fear with action, and hesitation with clarity. Over time, your mental state will shift and your results will follow. The truth is, your mind does not stop creating simply because you stop directing it. If you are not consciously planting positive seeds, negativity will fill the void. The world will hand you thoughts of scarcity and comparison if you do not choose your own. Training your mind to rise means becoming the gatekeeper of your own consciousness. It means saying no to ideas that weaken you and yes to those that strengthen you. You are the gardener, and the responsibility of growth lies with you alone. When you finally accept this truth, life changes in ways that seem miraculous. You begin to notice that opportunities appear where before there were only obstacles. You attract people and circumstances that align with your higher vision. It is not luck, it is the harvest of disciplined thinking. Every great success, every strong character, every lasting achievement begins with someone who chose to think differently. The mind, once trained to rise, will no longer settle for mediocrity because it knows that every thought is a seed, and every seed, when nurtured, must bear fruit. Discipline is the foundation upon which all greatness is built, and the mind is no exception. To train your mind to rise, you must develop the discipline to think deliberately, to act intentionally, and to persist consistently. Most people allow their minds to wander aimlessly, drifting from one thought to another without direction or purpose. They react to circumstances instead of creating them, letting external noise determine their inner peace. But the disciplined mind is unmoved by chaos. It is steady, focused, and unshakable. It does not allow distraction to dictate its direction. Discipline is the invisible force that separates those who dream from those who achieve. When you begin to discipline your thoughts, you reclaim control over your life. You stop being a victim of moods, fears, and opinions. You learn to focus on what matters and disregard what doesn't. It takes strength to do this because the world is constantly competing for your attention. There are endless temptations to waste time, energy, and focus on things that do not contribute to your growth. A disciplined mind recognizes these traps and turns away from them, not out of deprivation but out of clarity. It knows that every ounce of focus invested in the wrong direction steals power from your purpose. The process of mental discipline begins with awareness. Every time you find yourself reacting emotionally, pause and observe. Ask yourself if this reaction serves your growth or drains it. The undisciplined mind reacts impulsively. The disciplined mind responds intentionally. This difference, though subtle, determines the course of your destiny. Over time, small acts of control compound into enormous strength. Each time you choose focus over distraction, patience over anger, consistency over comfort, you forge a stronger mind. Discipline is not something you practice occasionally. It becomes who you are. True mental discipline also means refusing to be enslaved by temporary feelings. Feelings change with the weather, sometimes calm, sometimes stormy. But the disciplined mind is the anchor that holds steady through it all. When motivation fades, discipline keeps you moving. When results come slowly, discipline keeps you consistent. When doubt whispers that it's easier to quit, discipline reminds you why you started. It is the bridge that connects your intentions to your reality, and without it, even the greatest dreams collapse under the weight of inconsistency. There will be days when training your mind feels like an uphill climb. The temptation to relax your standards, to let negativity slip in, to lose focus for just a moment will always be there. That is precisely when discipline matters most. The easy path may offer comfort, but it never leads to strength. The difficult path, the one that demands effort and focus, shapes your character and sharpens your mind. Every time you resist distraction, you reinforce your mental endurance. Every time you choose to stay committed, you prove to yourself that you are in control, not your circumstances. Mental discipline is also about mastering what you allow to influence you. Guard your mind as carefully as you guard your time. The books you read, the people you spend time with, the content you consume, all of it shapes your thinking. A disciplined mind curates its environment. It seeks knowledge, truth, and inspiration, not noise, gossip, or negativity. It understands that what enters the mind eventually becomes part of your reality, and so it allows in only what aligns with growth. The reward of this discipline is inner freedom. The disciplined mind cannot be manipulated by fear or swayed by opinion. It operates on clarity, not confusion, on purpose, not impulse. It moves with calm determination even in chaos. Such a mind becomes unstoppable, capable of achieving anything it sets its focus upon, because it has learned the rarest skill of all. To command its self-awareness is the beginning of transformation, and without it, no true growth can ever occur. To train your mind to rise, you must first become aware of how it operates. Most people live unconsciously, reacting to life rather than responding to it. They are carried along by thoughts, emotions, and habits they barely notice, unaware that these invisible forces shape their days, their relationships, and ultimately their destiny. Awareness is like light. It reveals what has been hidden. The moment you become aware of your thoughts, you gain power over them. The moment you notice your habits, you begin to understand their roots. The first step toward mastery is to see yourself clearly without judgment, only with understanding. Every thought carries energy, and that energy directs your focus. What you focus on expands. If you constantly dwell on problems, you attract more of them into your experience. If you focus on opportunities, your mind begins to see them everywhere. Awareness is what allows you to choose your focus instead of being ruled by it. It allows you to pause between thought and reaction, to decide consciously what you will give your attention to. Most people let the same repetitive thoughts play in their minds day after day without questioning them. They replay mistakes, relive regrets, and reinforce fears, never realizing that their inner dialogue becomes their outer world. But awareness breaks that cycle. When you catch a thought that does not serve you and replace it with one that does, you begin to reshape your mental reality. The trained mind observes itself. It watches patterns, beliefs, and emotional triggers with curiosity rather than resistance. It asks, why do I feel this way? Why do I believe this? Does this thought move me closer to my purpose or further away from it? These questions bring clarity, and clarity brings control. Awareness does not mean suppressing negative thoughts. It means understanding them, learning from them, and letting them go. The more aware you become, the less power fear and doubt have over you. You start to recognize that most of the limitations you've accepted were never truly yours. They were given to you by others, absorbed from your environment, and accepted without question. Awareness allows you to reclaim your mind from these inherited beliefs and rebuild it with intention. It is through awareness that you begin to recognize the subtle difference between noise and truth. The world is filled with distractions designed to pull your attention away from what matters most. The aware mind filters through the noise. It no longer reacts impulsively to every opinion or event. Instead, it observes, understands, and decides. This level of awareness brings peace, because peace is not the absence of problems, it is the presence of clarity. When you can see life as it is, without distortion, you stop being controlled by what happens outside you. You realize that power comes not from changing the external, but from mastering the internal. Awareness also means being present. Too many people live trapped between the past and the future, haunted by what was, anxious about what might be. But life only happens in the present moment. The mind trained to rise stays grounded in now. It listens fully, acts deliberately, and experiences deeply. When your attention is in the present, your energy is at its highest potential. You think more clearly, perform more effectively, and connect more authentically. Awareness brings you into alignment with the moment where all your power resides. The beauty of awareness is that it deepens the more you practice it. At first, you may only notice your thoughts after they've already led you into reaction. But with time, you'll begin to catch them earlier and earlier, until one day you notice them the instant they arise. That is when transformation truly begins. Awareness gives you the space to choose, and in that choice lies your freedom. The untrained mind reacts out of habit. The trained mind responds with wisdom. Your environment is the mirror that reflects your level of growth, and your mind adapts to whatever surrounds it most consistently. To train your mind to rise, you must choose your environment with intention, because it quietly shapes your thoughts, your emotions, and your standards. The people you spend time with, the ideas you consume, and the atmosphere you live in all leave imprints on your subconscious. If you surround yourself with doubt, negativity, and small thinking, your mind will begin to shrink to fit that environment. But when you surround yourself with inspiration, ambition, and clarity, your mind naturally expands to match it. The law of association is powerful. You cannot stay the same when the environment around you pulls you higher. Every influence that enters your mind leaves a trace. The conversations you entertain, the media you consume, the habits of those you admire or tolerate, all of them feed your consciousness. That is why it's crucial to be selective. Your environment is either training your mind to rise or teaching it to settle. The difference between success and stagnation often lies not in talent, but in exposure. You rise faster when you are surrounded by those who expect growth, who challenge you to think bigger, who live as examples of what's possible. A weak environment reinforces comfort, but a strong one demands evolution. If you wish to rise, you must create conditions that support it. Mental elevation requires mental nutrition. Just as your body depends on what you feed it, your mind depends on the information you allow in. Feed it ideas that stretch you, knowledge that sharpens you, and wisdom that grounds you. Books, mentors, art, nature. Each has the power to shape the atmosphere of your inner world. Create a space, both mentally and physically, that reminds you of your goals. Let your environment echo your vision. A cluttered space reflects a cluttered mind, while a clean, organized, and inspiring environment fuels creativity and discipline. Surround yourself with reminders of who you intend to become, not who you were. Your mind adapts to what it repeatedly experiences. If you expose it to negativity, it becomes defensive. If you surround it with beauty, it becomes calm. If you challenge it with new ideas, it becomes sharp. This is why growth often requires changing your surroundings. Sometimes that means letting go of people who no longer support your vision, or walking away from places that drain your energy. It is not an act of arrogance, but of alignment. You cannot rise while remaining in environments that pull you down. Elevation requires separation from the noise that limits your potential. Even your daily routine forms part of your mental environment. The habits you practice shape the tone of your days. If your mornings begin in chaos and distraction, your mind learns to live in reaction. But if your mornings begin with focus, gratitude, and intention, your mind learns to lead with calm and clarity. Every ritual, every habit, every moment you design consciously trains your environment to serve you rather than sabotage you. The disciplined mind takes responsibility not only for its thoughts, but also for the spaces those thoughts grow in. Your environment also includes the unseen, your emotional atmosphere. The energy you carry, the emotions you nurture, and the frequency you emit form the invisible environment that either lifts or lowers you. When your emotions are rooted in gratitude, peace, and purpose, your outer world begins to align accordingly. Opportunities open, people respond differently, and clarity becomes natural. When your emotional environment is polluted by resentment or fear, your thoughts cloud and your progress slows. To rise, you must continuously cleanse your inner and outer environments, ensuring that both reflect the highest version of who you are becoming. Every great transformation begins with a shift in surroundings. The mind cannot rise while anchored to the weight of old environments. You are influenced by what you hear, see, and feel every day, so build an atmosphere that reminds you of your potential. Create spaces that inspire reflection, relationships that encourage growth, and habits that reinforce discipline. Your environment is the soil, your mind is the seed, and your future is the harvest. ChatGPT said, "To train your mind to rise is to understand that success and peace are not accidents, but the results of deliberate mental conditioning." Every thought, every decision, every response you make in life is a reflection of the standards you've set within. When you commit to rising, you commit to mastering your inner world so completely that no external force can pull you down. Life will always test you, through challenges, disappointments, and uncertainty. But a trained mind remains steady through it all. It sees beyond the temporary, beyond appearances, and focuses on principles that do not change. The untrained mind reacts emotionally, but the trained mind observes, learns, and adapts with wisdom. Rising by design means becoming the architect of your own destiny. It means no longer leaving your future to chance or circumstance. You begin to live with intention, knowing that every day is an opportunity to reinforce the habits that strengthen your spirit. You choose your thoughts the way a sculptor chooses tools, shaping the masterpiece of your life with precision and care. There is no randomness in greatness. It is always the product of focus, consistency, and faith. The mind trained to rise no longer waits for the right time or perfect conditions. It acts knowing that the act of beginning creates the momentum that invites opportunity. When you take control of your mind, you begin to see that what once appeared as obstacles are simply stepping stones in disguise. Every challenge becomes a lesson that polishes your character. Every failure becomes a teacher that sharpens your wisdom. The trained mind does not fear difficulty because it understands that pressure creates strength. Just as the body grows through resistance, the mind expands through challenge. Each time you face adversity with calm persistence, you strengthen your inner foundation. That is how you rise, not by escaping struggle, but by transforming your relationship with it. Rising by design also means committing to continuous learning. The mind cannot stay elevated if it stops growing. Curiosity keeps it alive. Every new idea, every piece of knowledge, every moment of reflection builds mental resilience. When you expose yourself to higher thinking, you begin to see patterns others miss. You start to connect ideas, anticipate outcomes, and make choices rooted in understanding rather than impulse. Growth is not a destination but a direction, and the mind trained to rise keeps moving forward no matter the pace. There is a quiet power in consistency, and it is through repetition that the mind becomes disciplined. The thoughts you repeat become beliefs, and those beliefs shape your actions. By holding the same vision day after day, despite distraction or delay, you train your mind to align with purpose. The difference between those who achieve and those who drift is rarely intelligence. It is persistence of focus. The rising mind understands this truth and uses it as fuel. It practices gratitude when things go well and composure when they don't. It no longer depends on emotion to move forward. It depends on decision. Rising by design requires faith in your potential, in the unseen progress, in the process itself. There will be moments when the results are invisible, when effort feels unrewarded, when doubt tries to whisper that you are wasting time. But the trained mind knows better. It understands that growth is happening quietly beneath the surface, that every disciplined choice builds momentum even when it cannot yet be seen. Faith becomes the lens through which you see possibility instead of limitation. To rise intentionally means aligning every part of your being, your thoughts, words, and actions with a single purpose. You live from vision, not from circumstance. You no longer wait for motivation. You create it. You no longer chase validation. You embody confidence. The more you train your mind to rise, the more your reality begins to reflect your inner order. Life stops feeling chaotic and starts feeling directed because you have become the director. You have chosen design over drift, creation over reaction, mastery over mediocrity.